We've got some breaking news now and want to get the latest with Zeina Khodr in Beirut. So as we said at the top of the bulletin, Zeina, the Israeli army is targeting an open area in the vicinity of a border town of Lebanon. What more are you hearing about this incident?
Yeah, it's yet another cross-border fire incident along this volatile border. The Israeli army saying that it is shelling areas close to the town of Farshuba in response to rockets that were fired from southern Lebanon towards Israel this morning. Now, earlier there were reports that rockets were fired from Lebanon towards Israel, but there was no confirmation from the Israelis. At the time, they said that a mine had exploded. Now, this incident comes amid the backdrop of really a very tense situation in recent weeks. Neither side really has an interest in provoking a major war, but we have seen cross-border fire in recent weeks and months. Now, what is happening is that Israel has been working along the border, engineering work, trying to erect a new fence, a new border wall. And more often than not, they seem to be crossing into Lebanese territory. And now the Lebanese group Hezbollah, which has fought with Israel in the past, is saying that Israel has taken over, quote, Lebanese land in the town of Ghajar. Now, this border, there are certain points along this 130-kilometer border which remain disputed. So a very tense situation. We've seen cross-border fire in the past. The situation is usually contained in just a few hours. But this time it comes really amid a backdrop of several incidents that is raising the alarm.
Zeina, we're having a look now at some of the vision from the area at that border. It doesn't look like it's inhabited, or there doesn't seem to be many people that live in that area. Can you describe the region where this is happening and whether or not that there's been any comment from the Lebanese army or the United Nations peacekeeping force in southern Lebanon?
Well, yeah, so far, no comment from the Lebanese army. I just got off the phone with the United Nations. They are the peacekeeping force, which is deployed in the border region to reduce tensions. They're still looking into the incidents this morning. But like I said earlier, neither side really has an interest in provoking a major war. And that's why when rockets are fired from southern Lebanon towards Israel, or when Israel shells areas in Lebanon, they choose open territory. They choose to avoid casualties. A major war really will be destructive for both sides. So this comes amid the backdrop of a wider. Usually, we see the tension along the border when two things are happening. One, when there's tension either in Gaza, the West Bank. Hezbollah has always said that Israel is facing, one front. From more than the equation of unifying the front, if you like, between all the players of, quote, the resistance axis. So it usually is a political message. And escalation also comes when there are Israeli airstrikes targeting Iranian targets in neighboring Syria. So when you have these escalation on other fronts, we do see tension flare along the Lebanon-Israel border. This is likely to be contained maybe for now, but it is something to watch in the hours and days to come in light against the backdrop of tensions along the border in Lebanon.
Zeina, what are some of the international ramifications of this? What are we likely to see as a result of this shelling or cross-border rocket launches?
We are going to see intense diplomatic contacts behind the scenes to reduce tensions. A major war will serve no side at this point in time. Israel knows it is facing an enemy, Hezbollah, which has grown its arsenal since their last war in 2006. We know that Hezbollah has precision-guided missiles, and we know that they can hit and target areas deep inside Israel. But we also know that Israel can carry out massive airstrikes, destroying large areas of the country. So this has happened in the past. So neither side, it is no side's interest. We are going to see a lot of behind-the-scenes diplomatic activity. But the bottom line is this: Israel sees Hezbollah as an extension of Iran. Hezbollah is an ally of Iran. It doesn't shy away from that fact, and it has made that clear on more than one occasion. And it's not just that. I mean, the head of Hezbollah, Hassan Nasrallah, has made it clear that Hezbollah has established this equation, if you like, and they call it the unifying of fronts. Whether Israel launches attacks against Palestinians, Lebanese, Syrians, all the different players of the so-called resistance axis will come together. So Israel will be facing, response from multiple fronts. So this also has a regional dimension. There's no doubt about this. And also, you have Hezbollah showing to the Lebanese people, because it has gained a lot of enemies, domestic enemies, because of its decision to remain armed. It wants to legitimize why it continues to be armed in this country because of Israel and the provocative acts along the border. So we are going to see a lot of diplomatic activity to try to reduce tensions. The United Nations will be calling both sides and urging restraint. But if there is a political will to escalate the tensions even further, it's unlikely the United Nations can stop that from happening.
All right, Zeina Khodr, thanks so much for breaking it all down for us. Zeina Khodr in Beirut. Let's go to Imran Khan, who joins us from West Jerusalem. Hello there, Imran. What can we make of the timing of these rocket launches, particularly given what's happened in Jenin at the start of the week and how Hezbollah has expressed support for the Palestinian cause during that Israeli operation?
I mean, expressing support for a particular cause and actually firing rockets are two very different things, as my colleague Zeina Khodr is pointing out. Neither side has any interest in escalation and taking this further, but there was an awful lot of confusion initially when this rocket was fired. Very early in the morning, we heard that a rocket had been fired from that area, but then almost immediately there was a denial from an Israeli army source on Israeli army radio saying, actually, no, the explosions were actually happened in a minefield and that the rockets weren't fired. However, the Israeli army then clarified, saying that they, following the report of an explosion near the town of Jazeera, soldiers arrived at the scene, and it was revealed that a launch was carried out from Lebanese territory, which exploded adjacent to the border in Israeli territory. Now, in response, the Israeli army is currently striking the area from which the launch was carried out. They are effectively striking an empty field. Now, when we've seen in the past, for example, in Gaza, rockets being fired, or we've seen them being fired from elsewhere, it's normally that kind of place that they fire them from, because they can set up very quickly, they can leave very quickly. So this is a tactic that we have seen before. Now, no one's claimed responsibility for it so far. It's likely, according to Israeli media sources, that there have been about 15 artillery strikes on that area. Without a response, you have to ask yourself, well, what are they actually hitting? If these rockets that we've seen in the past, particularly in Gaza, they're very small, they're very portable, the guys put them up and then they leave very quickly. So it's more likely that this is basically a show of force. It's a response. It's a proportional response in terms of the kind of rockets that were fired, or rocket that was fired from Lebanese territory. So it's likely that this will be it. It won't escalate any further. However, if both sides will it, if one side wants to escalate, then like my colleague Zeina said, there's really nothing the international community or the United Nations can do about it.
Imran, I know it's very early days yet, but has there been any response from the Israeli army or any official word from Israeli officials about what's unfolding?
No, other than the statement that I just told you about, which, basically says that they went down to the site, they confirmed that it was a rocket launch, and then they have basically started launching artillery strikes on the area. That's all we're hearing right now. It's all we're likely to hear. I don't know if this is the kind of thing the Israeli security establishment will begin to comment on further. There may well be leaks to local media suggesting giving a culprit, as it were, maybe blaming Hezbollah for this, maybe blaming another local group that acts within the area. But there are also a lot of tensions on that border. You know, Israel's long been accused of mounting illegal excursions into Lebanese territory, and it's always been a flashpoint. But like you say, the timing is interesting. It comes after the Jenin camp raid, which is the largest raid that's taken place in nearly 20 years. It also comes as the Israeli security establishment have said that the Jenin raid is a blueprint for further raids, not just within the occupied West Bank, but other places as well. So it could well be just a message. No one's claimed responsibility for this right now, but that may change in the coming hours.
It certainly might. All right, thanks so much for bringing us up to speed. Imran Khan in West Jerusalem. And just repeating that, breaking news out of Israel and Lebanon. The Israeli army is targeting an open area in the vicinity of a Lebanese border town. They say it's in response to an explosion. We have correspondents in Lebanon, and as we just heard from Imran Khan, we have him in West Jerusalem. So we'll bring you more information as it comes to hand.